An electromagnetic pulse that can cripple everything from stoplights to computers to the defense grid. Tonight, correspondent Doug McElway tells us just how real a possibility an EMP is.
It was a campaign promise Iranian President Rouhani made last May. Quote, "Death to America is easy. We need to express death to America with action." The easiest way for some rogue state to do that, say some, would be by EMP, or electromagnetic pulse. It's a burst of gamma rays. Even low-yield nuclear weapons produce them. Detonated at the right altitude over the U.S., an EMP could fry the circuitry of electronics all over the country.
That means no water. That means no food. That means no telecommunications. That means no transportation. That means no medical supplies.
We started pushing and the cops came and they're herding us like cattle.
This clip from a recent National Geographic special gives us a sense of what life might be like after an EMP attack. If it sounds far-fetched, consider that last July, a steamer owned by Iran's ally, North Korea, was found in Panama hiding nuclear-capable SA-2 missiles under 10,000 tons of sugar. Experts believe Russia has given EMP technology to North Korea. Our sun also produces EMPs through coronal ejections. A big one called the Carrington event occurred in 1859. Telegraph offices and lines caught fire. Experts say our electric grid is no better protected today than telegraph lines were then.
Pyongyang threatening war, even the possibility of a cyber attack that could wipe out our, or a missile attack that could wipe out our electrical grid if we don't back down. Here to react is David Bellavia, U.S. Army veteran, Silver Star recipient, and author of House to House. David, thank you very much for joining us this morning. So first of all, take us inside this regime just for a second. The nature of what Kim Jong-un has surrounded himself with and what they're threatening the United States with.
Well, thanks, Pete. I appreciate it. You know, this is a leader who's a very paranoid guy. Majority of his population starving. He's importing French cheese. You know, eats so much of it he has trouble walking. I mean, this is an unstable man. It's an unstable regime. And they have been able, for 3 presidents now, to use the diplomacy and leverage of essentially having the threat of an ICBM and getting what they want. We have a president in Donald Trump who acknowledges that that's no longer going to be acceptable. And, you know, when we talk about an ICBM blowing up, you know, for years and years, the Americans saw North Koreans' missile technology. And in the 60s, we didn't even want to talk about this phenomenon of electromagnetic pulse because we were afraid that we would expose our vulnerabilities of our electric grid to the Soviets. Now, fast forward to the present time, you look at these videos of some of these nations that are testing their solid fuel rockets, and they blow up in the sky. And sometimes people think that those are failed launches because they're not able to get into the stratosphere. The reality is they're actually practicing like they did in 2013 for an EMP blast in the atmosphere to take out the American power grid.
So, David, some people are saying, hey, this is just on the Korean Peninsula. Why do we care? Why should an American care? Tell us why an American today, besides allies in the region, which we care about, why should they care about whether North Korea has nuclear capabilities and the ability to deliver it?
Well, one of the biggest problems with North Korea is that they don't have a lot of money and they don't have a lot of partners in the world outside of China. So when you develop technology, that is going to go to the ISIS eBay as soon as it's out there and they can get some money for it. The other problem is a couple of years back, President Obama allowed North Korea to put a space satellite into orbit. I don't know what technology they have that they need to have it beamed down to Pyongyang, but the reality is that a real satellite? There's a lot of threat and a lot of speculation out there that that could be something other than a satellite. It could have a device on it. It could just be a bowling ball meant to knock out our satellites. So this is a regime that's unstable. They're dangerous, but they're also desperate, and their back is against the wall. And it's great to have a president that could stare them down in the eyes and say, you know what, your behavior is unacceptable and it won't be tolerated anymore. Well,
brinksmanship indeed, but it's dangerous. We've seen before in history what happens when we don't take seriously the words of a leader when they say they want to strike us. David Bellavia, thanks for your expertise this morning. Really appreciate it.
Could I add one thing about why this is so important? Hank said everything's designed to come over the pole at us, and we're defending over the pole. Right. With a fractional orbital bombardment system, which the Soviets invented and which we've had too, you could launch to the south, come around the South Pole, and detonate an EMP shot above the United States without ever having passed within the path of the radars and defense systems. Now, it doesn't mean they couldn't be reorganized to point south, in part. That's, right. I mean, Hank's just told you basically how to do that, but it hadn't been done. So today you have a vulnerability to the type of threat that he's describing coming around the South Pole without any even detection, much less defense. Excuse me.
And it's not only a hypothetical that this could be done, as Jim said. The Russians did it, and I guess could do it again, because they ceased and desisted as part of the deal, I think, on the SALT II agreement, which was never ratified, and so there isn't even a legal constraint that holds them back. But more than that, you don't need the fancy system that they were building. You just put the bomb on a satellite, and both North Korea and Iran in the last year have launched satellites over the South Pole, or nearly over the South Pole. They can certainly revector so that they come over the South Pole, and on their initial flight over the United States detonate, say over Omaha, somewhere there, and you could possibly take down the entire grid. We have no defense against that. We don't even have a radar system that would see it coming. Another picture that's in here, thanks to Peter Busey, and he can describe it in more detail, shows the radar fans that have evolved from the Cold War radars, and it's hard to see but there's a gap to the south. We got lots of radars looking north and to the east and the west, but we're wide open to the south for the main warning radars that we have.
Book 1 second after that Hank mentioned, and in NBC's series Revolution, the central theme is the United States after the grid goes down. Mm-hmm. So Hollywood and late night TV and novelists are well ahead of the government of the United States on this matter. Yeah.
North Korea launching this rogue satellite that they dubbed the Shining Star, that was going in the opposite direction of most satellites around the planet. The U.S. military was watching it, saying it was going to start tumbling and fall out of the sky. Since then, they haven't said much, and it's still there. So I just wanted to point it out and let it be known that it is still there. It never did just fall out of the sky. After going and looking and following the link from that video that I put out on it, sure enough, they're still tracking it, KMS-4, and it's making passes over the United States. As you can see here, it looks like New England is what it's going to pass over next time it comes around, and then right over the middle of the United States. And it makes several passes. You can come here and look at the 10-day predictions from your location. So this thing is making its passes over the U.S. It's going to continue to do this. The truth of the matter is no one knows what's aboard it. Period. And the one thing that's always loomed in my mind, because this thing flew right over the Super Bowl area during one of the last Super Bowls, was, what if they do have like an EMP type of something on this? Going over the United States. It just blows my mind that with everything going on with North Korea, this thing's still allowed to float over our country constantly, and they've done nothing about it.